Hello, and on this episode, I'm here with Robert Smith from LBRY. How are you today?
Doing good.
So can you tell me a little bit about the problems you're trying to solve with LBRY?
Yeah, at the highest level, what we're doing with LBRY is trying to resolve the ongoing issue that is no one actually has control over any of the data that they use or share on the internet.
And so how are you solving? That's a huge problem. How are you trying to solve that?
Well, by building a protocol and a series of apps on top of said protocol that protect people's data in a way where if you are using the app, like if you're a viewer or content consumer or you are buying something, your data it's yours, and the only person who would see it is the person on the receiving end or the seller or the distributor. Meanwhile, if you're a creator, if you're making 3D printable models, or if you're producing video content, you own your platform using the tools that we built. So while you may publish videos to YouTube, YouTube more or less owns you. Like, you're over a barrel with them. And a lot of people have seen the repercussions of that recently. And while there are some people who are kind of jerks and it doesn't really upset anyone to see them get in trouble, there's also people doing channels like transgender rights channels, marijuana. We've seen sex education channels get demonetized. And so while they created the content and they own the copyright, they don't own the platform or the technology. And at someone's whim, they can be shut down. So it's controlling data in the way that as a creator, you have more rights and more control over where your content is and who can access it. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, so it's like a digital marketplace for like creative products.
Yeah, I really like the term marketplace for what it is, because really that is it. Like, you build digital content of any sort and then you want to give it away or sell it. And you can do that using the app, or you can, if you're a developer, you can construct your own platform to do that, or you can build your own alternate marketplace. You can make a new instance of the LBRY app itself. So there's quite a few options for people to get more control over their data.
And is this system operational right now?
Yes. If you go to LBRY.io, so that's library without vowels, except for the Y, which sometimes is a vowel. If you go to LBRY.io, there are links to pretty much everything. Any desktop or laptop, if you're on Windows, Mac, or Linux, you can download the app right now and watch a bunch of free videos from YouTubers. You can buy some higher quality content, including 3D printable models from makers who are uploading their content to the platform. There's ebooks available. And on mobile, if you have Android, we've only released on Android, but we have a beta on Android. So it's lacking some features that work on the desktop, but you can watch and stream content. And it's all seeded, kind of like how BitTorrent works. And the data is, or at least the directional data, is stored in the blockchain, so it's permanent. And whoever owns their URL owns it forever. Whoever owns that claim ID has their spot, and it can't be shut down or taken, so to speak.
And this is an open source project?
Yes.
Do you know what the license is?
Ooh, off the top of my head, no.
Oh, yeah, that's quite all right.
Although, I mean, if you go to github.com/LBRYIO, that's where you'll find pretty much everything about it.
But it is pretty much on most platforms, right? You were saying it was available for, was it Mac, Windows, and Linux if you're looking for like desktop?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always good to have support for the Linux community because sometimes we're left out.
Yeah, Linux gets left out a lot. I can't believe Adobe's still not on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we have a lot of Linux users on the team. We when it comes to OSs, we are not dogmatic necessarily. It's as a developer or as a designer or a marketer, like whatever makes your job easier, use it. And that means that we have a lot of insight into Linux users because we're mostly engineers.
You talked a little bit about how it works for the user. So I install this application and then I can just kind of browse all this content.
Yep.
Okay. And then how do I buy things?
You buy things in the event something needs to be paid for, which right now there isn't a ton of pay for content on there yet, but essentially you see a thumbnail preview of the item frequently. Again, like 3D printables have been pretty successful in this regard relative to other types of content, where you click on the item, you open it, you read its description, see who it's from within the app. And then if you want to actually make the purchase, you would use LBC, which is our token. So you acquire LBC normally through rewards or interactions with the app. Of course, you can buy some or exchange your fiat currency for it, and then you use that in app. So all the transactions are done with cryptocurrency.
And if I'm a creator of digital content, what does that look like?
It means you have a wallet and you get cryptocurrency for selling your stuff. Yeah.
And as far as uploading that content, is that labor intensive? Do I need to host the files myself?
No, you just use the desktop app.
Okay. And then where are the
eventually the way that it's probably going to break down is things like mobile apps will be pure consumption, and eventually the content there'll be a better browser experience, but then the desktop app will sort of be the premium user experience where people, usually creators, will go to actually sell their goods.
Okay. And then where are the files actually stored?
That is where the BitTorrents reference comes into play again. So you are, by being part of the network, you are seeding files. Of course, that means that the more people who have copies of the file, the better the security and the better backup from the network for other users. But we do have there's a backup system in place. So if something happens, but the goal will be, especially as the network expands and grows, that it would all be seeded.
And if I'm doing content like video, do I have any kind of way of getting analytics of how many people maybe watch this video?
Yeah, we have views, although you sort of have to work with us at this point right now. The creator-specific features it's still early days, but we do track that. We know that data so that the owners can access it, but the data is not readily available yet.
So what have been some of the challenges of developing the system?
There have been a lot. We're an early stage company still, which means our audience, despite the fact that we've put hundreds of thousands of people through the technology, that's not a huge audience. We are regularly looking for ways to solve scalability issues, which if you are looking at dApps and other blockchain technology, this is a pretty consistent problem. Like blockchain developers, we have a meta problem, which is that the technology is still very young. And in our case, we're trying to distribute very large files on a protocol that is new, that leans on blockchain for trust. So I would say that, scaling and just delivering an experience that people expect, like that an average user expects while using this sort of young technology those have been like the two big things. Because you see a lot of decentralized applications that technically work, but they're more or less garbage. And it's like, oh, well, it technically does do what you say, but not even a mainstream user, just a high-end user, they're going to expect certain things to come from UX. And in my experience over the last year or so, most of these dApps that are out there are not focusing on that, which is a big focus here to get a better user experience. And I think in the end is going to determine who a lot of the winners in the blockchain and crypto space actually are. It's going to be whoever can get the technology to work and then actually makes it usable and useful for the end users.
So is LBRY a decentralized app?
Yes.
Okay. But it's going a little bit of a different direction than many of them. Many of them kind of want to have the user interface be through the web, and that's caused some problems for users.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of them are trying to do it in the web, and you have to install plugins, and you have to install, browser extensions. In our case, we've started with downloadable apps. We are trying to deploy a web version of it soon. Well, soon's a relative term, I guess, but in the future. But it's a case of the web experience will be heavily truncated, with the funnel more or less being, get the app like wherever you are if you like this. And most people are using mobile devices for casual consumption. So the average user is not going to be a creator. So the funnel for them would look like use it on the web, learn about the mission, learn about how all these other companies don't actually care about you and are literally taking advantage of you. Like, we've built the technology from the ground up to where we can never, if someone came to us with like $10 billion and was like, all you have to do is censor everyone with furries content, we'd be like, oh, we literally can't do it. I've read a critique of how the internet was originally designed, which was they didn't like factor in control and security because they were building this brand new thing they didn't even think to. But now with blockchain and with decentralized technology, we sort of have an opportunity to rectify that. And that's kind of what we're trying to do.
And so do you have any plans for dealing with any illegal content that might be put on the network?
Yeah. Essentially, if you use our stuff for illegal purposes, we may not be able to censor you per se, but we can certainly turn over access points. And we always comply with the law. We have had some DMCAs come our way, and we more or less are just like, all right, well, here you go. In our app, we can censor what happens in the app. We can't censor what's built on the protocol or on the other pieces of technology with the SDK. So we can't stop that, but we can work with law enforcement to make sure that the law is abided by.
So how have content producers reacted to this?
So yeah, in general, the feedback ranges. So from my communications, and I'm kind of speaking anecdotally from my perspective, but there's a handful of reactions. One is, oh, that's awesome. I want to get my stuff on there because I've been demonetized, or someone I know has been demonetized, and all we make are commentaries on, Dragon Ball Z or Final Fantasy or something. And then there's people who are like, well, I'll get on there because I like cryptocurrency and blockchain, but I don't think this is a real problem. And then there's people who don't think there's a problem at all because they're kind of coasting along with, 1 million subs and they're making some money off YouTube. And, for them, it's kind of like adding yet another job. So a lot of it depends on what their experience has been so far as a creator on these platforms. We have found some people want to get on, and most of their work comes from social media. Just because they've seen what sometimes happens there. Because social media is, while it's social, it's also controlled by 4 companies. So I guess I say it ranges based on their experience so far. And the more times the ban hammer comes down, the better for us. Which, of course, I don't want the ban hammer to come down on anyone, but it helps get the message out.
Well, it's kind of like how it always is when people are comfortable. Like, you can yell at them about danger all you want, but they're like, I feel just fine here until it happens to them. And then it's like the worst thing to ever happen to anyone.
Right. Absolutely. And we have brought on creators who went through that they went through this entire narrative life cycle where they were doing whatever they were doing, wherever it was, and they kind of brushed it off. And then 6 months later, they're like, hey, can we still set that up and get those cryptocurrency rewards? Because, no reason. But it's like, oh, no, there's a reason. And that's okay. For everyone, right? One of the big things about marketing any given product is most people don't even know you exist. And then they don't know why they need it. And then they don't know if they need it enough. And so it's like, people just need time and experience. And along the way, we'll keep improving the app. And putting more users through and putting more content on. And by the time they're ready, it'll be in an even better place.
And so this system works with pretty much any digital content, right? I think you said about 3D models and audio and video.
Yeah.
Okay, so pretty much anything that's a digital file I can put up there?
Yes. You can share and sell any digital file type that you own. In the app, you can only view movies and 3D file types. Audio support is coming soon. It's a feature currently being worked on. But as far as like a marketplace where you can buy and acquire, files of whatever sort, you can sell anything. You could sell ebooks. You could sell PDFs, you could sell whatever the heck you wanted.
Sell some TXT files.
Sure. Yeah. If you can save it, you can sell it.
And is there a limit to how big these files can be?
2 gigabytes is the current limit.
Okay, that's huge, yeah. So do you have any plans for the future for this project?
Yeah. We have a roadmap on our website at LBRY.io, but essentially the future is finish the features, scale better, and flesh out the mobile experience. And then also targeting international users. We know that there's quite a bit of value from some early testing. So we're hoping to distribute it more and get outside of the US a little bit. And in the near future, we are, as a company, partaking in Hacktoberfest. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. So yeah, our project's open source and people can contribute. So this month we're focusing on creating new introductory content so that people who would be interested in learning more can brush up quickly. We're launching a new informational portal, LBRY.tech. So if you're a developer who wants to learn more, it's actually up in an alpha. A lot of it's incomplete, but it is there. And we are going to be throughout the month contributing back to projects that our team either uses or just really believes in. So committing some work time to give back to the open source community this month. Then at the end of it, people who contribute to LBRY who want one, we're going to put together a cool t-shirt. I'm jokingly referring to it as our world tour t-shirt. So if you contribute to LBRY during October, your town can be featured on the back of a shirt that'll go out to however many people contribute or partake in Hacktoberfest with us.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool project. Was there anything I should have asked you about that maybe I missed?
No, I really don't think so. So we can probably just do the outro.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You are a podcast listener and you're interested in crypto. Otherwise, why would you be listening to this show, right? Have you tried looking for new crypto and blockchain podcasts to listen to? If you've used Google, then you've probably found a whole bunch of clickbait articles. Top 10 lists that just list the same podcasts over and over again. And most of those podcasts aren't even active anymore. If you use iTunes, then you probably got a whole bunch of irrelevant results. The iTunes search function is absolutely awful. It's kind of like using Alta Vista in the 1990s. Keyword stuffing has made it almost unusable. So I made a site to fix this problem. Just go to crypto.podcastlist.net. On the site, you'll find a comprehensive list of all the active podcasts covering the blockchain, cryptocurrency, and other decentralization technologies. This is not a curated list of my favorite shows. This list is intended to be complete. I want to list every single show that is focused on this industry. I've got about 75 active shows on the list already. Please let me know if I have missed any shows. This list is also covered by a Creative Commons license, so feel free to reuse it and share it. Check out crypto.podcastlist.net if you are looking for new crypto and blockchain podcasts. And if you have your own show, please check and make sure you are listed. Once again, the site is crypto.podcastlist.net. Please check it out and tell me what you think.